and we start with the news that from February, Austria will become the first Western country where you have to get the COVID jab.
Yeah, around 2 million people who are not fully vaccinated have already been told to stay at home, while from Monday, the country will go into lockdown as it tries to stop a fourth wave of COVID cases. This is despite the fact you have to wear face masks on public transport and in shops and museums.
Well, Austria registered over 25,000 new cases just in the last 48 hours and still has one of the lowest vaccination levels in Europe. So, could a move to mandate vaccines in Austria have any repercussions here?
To look at what this means for Austria and its people is Damita Pressl, presenter and journalist at Kornen Zeitung, Austria's largest daily newspaper. Damita, really good to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us. How much resistance is there from the people of Austria to this lockdown?
To the lockdown, not that much. I think everyone is realizing that it's really necessary. The politics has taken its time to mandate measures that were necessary quite a while ago, I would say, but we had some regional elections back in September, and so politicians were really slow to act when I think they knew they had to, and now we're at a point where, we have 15,000 new infections a day. ICUs are overflowing. Children are having their surgeries moved because they need to keep ICUs open for mostly unvaccinated COVID patients. So I think everyone understands at this point that we do need another lockdown, as annoying as it may be.
So interesting you say that there's this sort of widespread acceptance then that another lockdown is necessary, but there isn't widespread acceptance that vaccination is the best route out of this and a sure way to try and avoid a lockdown. Of course, taking this drastic action of making vaccinations mandatory from February, is that being well received there?
I assume that's going to be more contentious, but 80%, we do have one of the lowest vaccination rates in Europe, but 80% of the people who can get vaccinated are, a little bit less, around 77. So I'm sure that a minority is going to have its issues with that. But again, there's also a large part of the population that are saying we had this coming. And if people, we've had information campaigns and we've had, we've tried to provide all the information for people to go get vaccinated on their own. And that doesn't seem to be working because ICUs are still overflowing, right? So I think a lot of people do also understand that this is the next step.
So just to be clear, Damita, over there in Austria, there is a high level of resistance then to getting the vaccine. That is why vaccination rates are so low, or is it to do with the way the government's rolled it out?
I think it's both. I think historically we've been a country that's quite skeptic in a lot of ways of science. Different things. We're very skeptical of nuclear energy. Homeopathy is very popular. So there's that element to that. There's that societal element. But then also critics are saying that the government never actually had a planned and properly constructed vaccination campaign. It would have had to be probably multilingual. It would have had to target different demographics, and that never happened in that way. So I think it's a mix of both, really.
That's really interesting because certainly here there is quite a big division between, anti-vaxxers and those who, as you say, support science. And it seems as though perhaps in Austria then, as you described, there is a bit more of a blurred line between the two, and perhaps it's more of a vaccine hesitancy than perhaps vaccine anti-vax. As a result, though, where does Austria go from this? The eyes of the world are going to be watching this, the success of it. And of course, here in the UK, we recoil, vast swathes of the population recoil at the suggestion of having to show papers to prove that you've had vaccination. And of course, with Austria's history as well, what's the attitude to that there?
Like I said, I think a lot of people understand. I think, as you said, there are people who are just hesitant still and who just need to, be provided more information. And of course, there's going to be a small minority that is actually anti-vax in that way. Honestly, though, I think, we've seen the headlines, and of course, we're the first Western country to mandate a vaccine against COVID. But what you have to remember is that vaccine mandates aren't new, right? Italy, France, Hungary have mandates for a bunch of, ranging from diphtheria to, measles. There are vaccine mandates in the Western world now. There's mandates, when you want to travel to Asia or South America, there's mandates for vaccines against yellow fever. So the concept of a vaccine mandate isn't new per se. For a lot of countries, we've never had one in Austria. I can't say how people are going to react to it. But it's not a completely new concept.
Really good to talk to you this morning. Thank you so much for giving us sort of the lowdown on what's happening in Austria there.